time comes when silence is betrayal. For we are deeply in need of a new way beyond the darkness that seems so close around us. And if we will only make the right choice, we will be able to transform this pending cosmic elegy into a creative psalm of peace. We will be able to transform the jangling discords of our world into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. We will be able to speed up the day all over America and all over the world when justice will roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
Hey, we're so glad that you're here today, and we take a break from our series, as Michael talked about, and today is Compassion Sunday here at the Bridge. And I want you to know that there are people everywhere, all over the world, in third world countries, to where they are affected by people like you. And you're going to kind of hear that today. But today, as we begin, I want to welcome to our stage a young man who was greatly affected by Compassion International. And he is from Uganda. His name is Moses, and he now lives in Philadelphia. He's studying there and is studying to get his law degree. And so would you give a great Bridge Fellowship welcome to Moses as he shares with us. God bless you, man.
Good morning, church. My name is Moses Ashawa, and I was born and raised in Uganda, and this is my story. I am a dreamer. As a young boy, I would look up to the skies and marvel and say to myself, I'll one day fly above the clouds and soar way higher than the eagles. But this dream was shattered at the age of 5 when my father abandoned the 8 of us. He left us in the custody of my mother, a housewife, who could neither read or write. The best she could do was to work in other people's land so that we could get something to eat. On good days, she would return home with the harvest, and on some not so good days, she would come back empty-handed. On those days, we would pray together and go to bed hungry. In the piercing of the night, I would twist, toss, and turn with my stomach growling. Going to bed on an empty stomach was the most challenging thing as a child. I would wake up the next day, beaten, stricken with hunger, and I would pray that my mother would return home with the harvest. Another challenging thing about our situation was schooling. Because we were poor, we could not afford school fees, books, and uniforms needed to attend classes. I would bounce around from school to school and wait until I would be sent home due to lack of funds. We prayed for a miracle. It was the year 1995 when my mother learned about Compassion International through a close church friend. She set out on a journey traveling over 300 miles to find a Compassion office. My mother returned home that night with the most exciting news that we had been sponsored by Compassion. My life was forever changed. I even received a new pair of shoes. Who amongst you knows how it feels to wear a new pair of shoes? Now imagine wearing a new pair of shoes after walking barefoot for a long time. My life was forever changed because my sponsor, Nelson, all the way from Australia, decided to sponsor me. As a young man, my dream was to graduate from high school and play on a soccer team. That was my dream. But with Compassion International and my sponsor, Nelson, that dream came to fruition. I graduated from high school, and then I realized that I could even dream bigger. I dreamt big, and I decided to go to law school. And with the help of my sponsor and Compassion International, I was able to graduate. As I stand before here today, I'm a graduate of Uganda Christian University in Uganda with a law degree and a master's degree from Temple University in Philadelphia. That all started because someone decided to invest and give in my life. Someone who spoke life to me. He wrote me letters and encouraged me and told me that I was the beloved of God, that I could achieve everything I could put my heart to. And as a young man, I realized that spoke life to me. He fit the shoes that my father had left. He filled them. And he spoke in my life and became a father figure to me. I've never met Nelson, but he has transformed my story. He has changed my life. And my dream of flying higher than the eagles has come to fruition. I've been to over 20 states and 3 continents, both through compassion and my personal travels. And today, as I stand here, I am giving back. I decided to sponsor some child from Tanzania. His name is Samuel. He usually intrigues me with his stories, and he tells me how he plays soccer with friends until the cows come home, and how he helps his grandmother with house chores. I'm really intrigued by the simplest of things about which he writes. And he has encouraged me to find myself. 20 years ago, someone invested in my life, and I'm now giving back. I'm here to give you the same opportunity to invest in a child's life and transform their future, to change their story, to change their trajectory. Some of them have never heard about Christ, but you coming alongside them will make a difference. I'm here to give you the same opportunity that Nelson had 20 years ago to influence and impact my life. And I'm here as a living testament that sponsorships work, that a life that was hopeless is now hopeful, and I'm now giving hope to the rest of the children. May God bless you.
When we knew that we were going to do Compassion Sunday, I asked whoever was going to speak, I wanted them to translate my message into their native language. That was just a cool thing. And Moses told me, he said, well, Pastor, I speak several different dialects. And he said, what kind of dialect do you want me to speak? And I said, with all the rednecks at our church, it won't matter, I promise. They won't even know what you're saying, you know. But Moses is going to translate part of my sermon into his language.
Yes.
And so I want you to know how this all started. In the early days of the Bridge Fellowship, we decided that we wanted to do Compassion Sunday. And so we contacted Compassion International. They asked about our church. We told them that we were a new church plant and we were running 300 people. That means if a dog walked by, we counted that dog in our numbers. But 300 was adults as well as children. And so we told them that our goal was to sponsor 100 kids on one Sunday. And they said, no, Pastor, that's way too many. Especially for a new church plant. And so after we talked a while, we agreed that 100 wasn't a good number. So we asked for 125. And so when Compassion Sunday arrived, we told our people that our goal was to sponsor 125 children. And after we talked about how we could be a part of Compassion International, we said it would have to be a movement of God in people's lives. And so after the day ended, and Monday morning arrived, we called Compassion International. And we said, we need 25 more packets. So you sponsored 125. I said, no, we sponsored 150, but we need 25 more packets. And because of that,
ahabwekyo
Compassion International contacted us,
Compassion International yatwishyurira
and I had the opportunity to go on a compassion vision trip to Peru.
basharamu ngo agenda vision trip e Peru.
You'll see the pictures of my trip in Peru.
Naza kubereka ebishushani bye trip ye yagireho Peru.
But as I was in Peru and I called my wife one night,
Kwebera Peru yaterera omukazi we ekiro kimwe.
she let me know that Gordon and Sherry's Rogers girl that they sponsor.
Yabagambira Gordon na Sherry omwana we mbaherera.
They're sitting right over there.
Bakaba sitamire kuri.
That their daughter, the girl that they sponsored in Peru, that they wanted me to try to get in touch with.
Bakame nangu omuhara bakwera Peru ngo agenda murebe.
So compassion made it happen, and this is a girl that Gordon and Sherry were sponsoring at the time.
Ogu nomuhara Gordon na Sherry we mbahera omubwire obwi.
So when I was leaving them on that one day, the mom and the daughter both said the same thing to me.
Kwewe narugwayo nyina nomuhara bagambe ekintu kimwe omunuru gumwe.
It's the only time that anybody has ever said this to me,
Nicyo omuntu gokubanza omuntu ekiyawe yamugambire
including my wife.
n'omukazi we.
And that was,
Kikakiri ngu
please don't leave.
ngu bambi otakagenda.
My wife has never even said that to me,
Omukazi we takakigambaga.
nor none of my kids.
N'abaana be tibakakigambaga.
But this little girl and her mom, those were the words they spoke. Please don't leave.
Omushiki ogu na nyina nicyo kigambo ekibagambire ngu bambi otakagenda.
And you look at that like I'm the hero, but I wasn't the hero.
Oreba ekishushani ekyo nooreba ngu niwe nk'owaabe naheereza nka tiwakuheereza.
Gordon and Sherry Rogers were the hero.
Gordon na Sherry nibo bakuheereza.
And so as we look today, I wanted to talk about the steps to engagement for each of us to be a sponsor for Compassion International.
Entambura emukubaasa kuheereza Compassion International.
And to look at these steps, we're going to look at the half-brother of Jesus. His name is James.
Twaza kureeba mukuru wa Yesu oba kweta Yakobo.
So I got 3 steps for you.
Nyine emitendera eshatu egyawe.
The first step is that we move from rejection to acceptance.
Omutendera w'okubanza nturuga omu kwangwa ntwiza omu kwikirizibwa.
Can you imagine being the half-brother of Jesus?
Nobaasa kuteekateeka kuba mukuru wa Yesu.
How many times do you think James heard from his mother, why don't you act more like your brother Jesus?
Yakobo bakumugambira ngu abakitwa kuba nka mukuru wawe Yesu.
But we're not really sure why, but his brothers, none of them accepted Jesus as the Messiah.
Onkamurubona ba brothers be tino waikiriza Yesu nka Messiah.
In John chapter 7, verse 5, this is what it says.
Yohana eshuro ya mushanju ejuru rwakatano nchakugamba.
For even his own brothers did not believe in him.
Na bakuru be benyini tibaramwikirizemu.
His brothers were embarrassed of him.
Bakuru be bakamba mushwarra.
It's a picture of us.
N'ekishushani kiitu.
That at times we're embarrassed about Jesus.
Ng'obwire butukuhemuka hari Yesu.
And we reject Jesus.
Tukamwanga.
And then there's something that happens in our life.
Hine ekikubaho mu magara gitu.
And we become desperate.
Kandi tugira okuyayana.
Then we start to consider this person by the name of Christ.
Ntwasa kuteekateeka ogwo omuntu otukweta Kristo.
But for James, after the resurrection,
Konka Yakobo kwi yamaze kuhimbuka.
he moves from rejection to acceptance.
Yaruga omu kwangwa yaza omu kwikirizibwa.
And because Jesus gave his life for him,
Okuba Yesu akaheerayo amagara ge yawe,
James now puts his yes on the table.
Yakobo yateeka okwikiriza kwe aha meeza.
And that's what happened when you gave your life to Christ.
Ekyo nikyo kyabireho kuwahiira amagara gawe Yesu.
You put your yes on the table.
Okaheereza yeego yawe aha meeza.
But it's not just for salvation.
Nka tikyo kurokoka konka.
Isn't it every day of our lives
Nikibaho burizo omu magara gitu.
that we put our yes on the table?
Nitubasa kuteeka yeego aha meeza.
You think about how many kids and families have been changed because of Compassion International.
Deba ubare abaana bangahi n'amaka angahi agachenjinjibwa bwa Compassion International.
Because somebody,
Aho kuba omuntu omwe,
somewhere,
omunsi emwe,
like a Gordon and Sherry Rogers,
akareba Sherry na Rogers,
put their yes on the table.
bateeka yeego yaabo aha meeza.
So we move from rejection to acceptance,
Nturuga omu kwangwa tuza omu kwikirizibwa.
and we move from crowd to the inner circle.
Nturuga omu kibiina tuza omu kwano omu kukunda.
Before James became a follower of Jesus,
Yakobo atakabiire mukuratiro wa Yesu,
All he did was watch his brother do miracles.
akaana areba mukuru we akora ebyamagero.
But after the resurrection,
Okwimbuka kukwabireho,
he moves from the crowd to the inner circle.
akaruga mu kibiina yaza omukunda kwa Ruhanga.
1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 3. I'll read a verse and then Moses will translate that verse. So in verse 3, it says this: For what I received, I pass on to you as of first importance, that Christ died for our sins according to the scriptures.
Omukuna afunde nkakikugabira omukubanza okubikiriza Kristo kuyafiire akurugira yahandikirwe.
That he was buried, that he was raised on the third day according to the scriptures.
Akafa yazooka yazikibwa naku wakashatu akurugira byahandikirwe.
And that he appeared to Cephas and then to the 12.
Akarebekera Sifasi na n'abayegibwa we 12.
After that, he appeared to more than 500 of the brothers and sisters at the same time, most of whom are still living, though some have fallen asleep.
Abwanyuma akarebekera abantu 50 ab'oruganda n'ab'emikwano mu rugumwe kuba amazire abahurire n'abafiire.
Then he appeared to James,
yarebekera Yakobo,
then to all the apostles.
n'abeegi.
How does somebody read that and translate that into their native language is beyond me. And yet the only word I understood that he said was the word Cephas. I didn't understand anything else. When this happens, everything changes.
Ekikubaho buli kimwe kihinduka.
Now James believes in Jesus
Hati Yakobo n'ayikiriza omuri Yesu
because of the resurrection.
ab'okuzooka,
He now begins to live for him.
n'atandika kumuheereza.
He no longer is observing,
Takiri mukuratizi,
but he is fully engaged.
hati arimu abihiremu amagara ge goona.
You see, at one time, we're just a part of the crowd.
Obumwe nituba turi hamwe aha kibiina,
And maybe we know some facts about Jesus.
obumwe nitumanya ebintu mwari Yesu,
But because of the resurrection,
konka habw'okuzooka,
Jesus has called each of us by name.
Yesu naayeta buri omu ahari itwe aha izina ryaitu.
No matter what mistakes you've made,
Kikumanyisa ho n'okutuura,
how many times you've messed up,
emirundi engahe oshiishire,
even if you're not a Christ follower,
n'obu okuba otari mukuratizi wa Yesu,
he still knows your name.
naakimanya izina ryawe,
He knows everything about you.
namanya buri kimwe ahari iwe.
But when you choose Christ
Konka k'okwironda Yesu,
and you move into the inner circle,
otaaha omu kukunda kwe.
now we have new responsibilities
Hatwine ebiragiro bisya,
because our DNA has changed.
ahabw'okuba obusimu bwitu bwahinduka.
We've been given a new spirit,
Twaheerezebwa omwoyo musya,
something that lives inside us,
ekikutuura omunda omuri itwe,
that has never lived inside of us.
ekitakatuuraga omuri itwe.
Now we no longer serve ourselves.
Tukiheereza amagara gaitu gonka,
We serve somebody else.
nituheereza abantu abandi.
And so now here, the third step is that we move from local to global.
Ekyakashatu nituruga omu kacweka tuza omu kicweka ekihango.
In Acts chapter 15,
Omu bikorwa by'abatumwa enshura ya 15,
there was a teaching that said that all the Gentiles could not become followers of Jesus unless they were circumcised.
hakariho okushomesebwa kugira ngu abanyamahanga bakaba batakwikiza kuba bakuratizi ba Yesu kwihaho baba bakomirwe.
And it went before the Jerusalem council.
Kyaza omu Yerusalemu omu bakurembezi.
And as usual, Peter spoke up first.
Ekyabandize Petero yagamba ogw'okubanza,
He always spoke up first.
akaana agamba.
And he made the statement that it is by grace and faith that we come to follow Christ.
Yagira ngu nahabwe embabazi n'okwikiriza tubaasa kukuratira Yesu.
And after he spoke, the entire council grew quiet.
Kuyamaze kugamba abantu boona bakurembeze bahunama.
And James, the half-brother of Jesus,
Na Yakobo mukuru wa Yesu
spoke up.
yagamba.
His speech helped the church understand that this thing called faith
Akayamba ekanisa kumanya ngu ekintu kimwe ekikweta okwikirizibwa
and the concern for the gospel
na n'okwenjiri
of people coming to faith in Christ
n'abantu okwija omuri Yesu abwa Yesu
and becoming a follower of Jesus,
n'okuba abakuratizi ba Yesu.
that we should be concerned that it is happening in the neighborhood.
Twine kukimanya ngu nikibaho omu bicwekacweka byaitu.
But we also should be concerned about taking Jesus to everyone, everywhere. We move from local to global. Just like what happened in the life of Moses. Would you give Moses a great round of applause? Thank you. We have an opportunity to do something, to make a difference in our world, and to give Jesus to kids and to families all over the world. The thing I love about Compassion International, it always happens through the local church. There's always a local church that is involved. You might not be able today to go to Kenya or Peru or Bolivia or Haiti or the Philippines or Colombia or Mexico, but you can do missions. Hopefully there's a time coming that everything will open back up. A lot of things have closed down because of COVID. Hopefully there'll be a time that it'll open up and that God will do a work in all of our hearts and we can go to some kind of mission trip. That you would say, you know what, I'm not just concerned about my neighborhood. And I think that's what happens within the church is that we become so consumed with what's happening inside our walls that we forget God's called us to make a difference outside of our walls. He's called us to go beyond our walls and to go and to do mission work all over the world. And maybe today you're not able to go to a foreign country, but today, if you put your yes on the table, you can greatly affect somebody somewhere else. That you can affect a child's life in a third world country. And you see, for $38 a month, you can sponsor a child. $38. And when you sponsor a child, they receive food and clean water, medical care, education. It provides money for clothing, for school. It provides money for school itself, for life skills training, for spiritual guidance. And the best thing is, it provides for the gospel. I mean, you think somebody has stood on our stage today without hope, had no dreams at all, and all of a sudden they get involved in Compassion International. And right now, Moses was sponsored by a young man in Australia. And because of that, Moses gives his life to Jesus. His life is forever changed by the power of Christ. And now he is traveling pretty much all over the world to share his story about how Compassion International has helped him and has moved him from being a prisoner and being in chains now that he is free. I mean, the guy has graduated from law school and he's even studying for another law degree. Think about that for just a minute. Because one person decided to say, yes, I'm going to sponsor a child. And you see, when you decide to sponsor a child, it doesn't help just the child. It helps the entire family. So let me just demonstrate how this happens. Okay, I need you, Kane kids, come here, put your stuff down. Parents, y'all stand up for me right there, okay? Y'all come over here, okay? All right, here y'all stand over here. Apart, away from them like you don't know them. All right, there you go, all right? So, Terry and Jane Kane here, all right? Involved in our church. How long have you been coming to the bridge? 8 years? Does that sound good to you? Well, that's a man in it. Yeah, that sounds good to me, all right? So you know what? Their lives have been changed by the power of the gospel. Guess what happens? They raise their kids in the church. And guess what happens? Their kids come to faith in Jesus. Their lives are changed because they found Christ. Their lives are never the same because they found Christ. Guess what happens? This guy goes to college at some point, and guess what? He meets a girl, they fall in love, they get married. Now, I know that this girl, her dad thinks she's never going to get married, but she's going to get married one day, all right? She's going to have a husband. And when she has a husband, she'll probably have kids. They'll probably have kids. And guess what happens? Their kids will have kids. And then their kids will have kids. You see, what happens is because of parents' investment in their kids into what's really important in every facet of the game, especially spiritually. They've seen mom and dad walk with Jesus. They've seen them love Jesus. And see, their kids' lives are changed, but not only their kids, but their kids, their grandkids, their great-grandkids, their great-great-grandkids, all because of them. And today you might be here and you might be saying, you know what? I didn't have that. I didn't have that. Or you might be here today and going, you know what? I wish I had that, but guess what? I'm a single parent. I'm a single mom, or I'm a single dad, and things haven't worked out like we should. And if you're not careful, you get stuck in that and you think, okay, my kids are going to grow up in this thing called prison and freedom, and they never have freedom because they're always going to have this bondage on them. It doesn't have to be that way. Why? Because of the power of the gospel. That's why. The power of the gospel changes everything. Why are their lives changed? Not just because they provided for them, but they provided the gospel for them. Okay, y'all can go sit down. Thank you. See, what happens, though, is that now let's bring it a little closer to home. You have a guy that gets up and tells a story that he had a dream that he wanted to soar above the eagles, but all of a sudden, 8 kids, dad walks out. Mom is there by herself. I don't know any kid in this place, in this room right here, that has to wonder, oh my goodness, my dad's walked out. I wonder if my mom's going to have to go and work in the fields and bring harvest back so that we can eat at night. I doubt there's anybody here. If you are, please come let me know that you have to wonder, are my kids going to be able to eat tonight? If that's you, please let us know. But most of the kids here, your kids don't have to have that. So how do we make a difference in that? We put our yes on the table and we say, you know what? For $38 a month, I'm going to sponsor a child. Now, I want you to think about this. If you are married or if you're single and you got kids, let's say you're a single mom, and let's just say you got 3 kids. And man, you're working and you treat them, and one night you go out to eat. And you don't go anywhere fancy, but you just go out. You know what? With 3 kids and you, it's going to be between $30 and $40 by the time you pay tax. If you have to a place where you have to tip, it's going to be between $30 and $40. That's one meal for one day. That's it. For $38 a month. You're not just providing food. You are in part of changing a kid and a family's life forever. Think about that. Just by simply saying yes. I'm going to put my yes on the table. $38 a month. And I want you to know, if you've got teenagers, there is nothing better to get them to understand, no, you know what, maybe you have a job and we're going to let you even help in giving to some of this, but we're going to put this kid's picture on our refrigerator. It's a reminder to pray for them and to continue to pray that they will find Christ, and not only find Christ, but they will be free and they will be able to grow up. And they will be able to grow up in a way that they don't have to worry about hunger. That's what this is about. And to get your kids to be a part of understanding that our family is not just about meeting our needs. Our family is about meeting other people's needs. That's what we're about here. So when you think about that, think about what you could do in the life of somebody that you're going to give, you're going to sponsor. And so Sharon and I, we've sponsored a child. We have a second child. And right now, the girl that we are sponsoring right now lives in Rwanda. And her name is Benita. This is Benita. And understand that I get this from Compassion. They don't send this to me every month, but let me just tell you what I just got. On this, it tells us how to pray for Benita. It tells us about her progress spiritually, her progress cognitively, physically, and her progress emotionally. And it tells me how she's doing and what I need to pray for. And right now, she's not where she needs to be physically. So you know what that tells me? That tells me, okay, when her birthday's coming and Compassion sends me some, we're going to send extra money so she can get a birthday gift. Guess what else we're going to do? We're going to send extra money so that she can have a Christmas gift. And then we're not going to do that, but we're going to send a gift every once in a while to her entire family. Why? Because God's blessed us. We're going to bless other people. Is that not what this thing called Christianity is about? That God blesses us and we bless others, right? Amen? That's what we're about. And so when we get the letter from Benita, after we sent a Christmas gift, she said, thank you for the Christmas gift. With the gift that you sent, we bought food and a goat. I don't know here, but there ain't many kids getting goats for Christmas, I'm just saying. And so Sharon and I started talking about, okay, what are we going to do for compassion? We felt like we need to sponsor another child. And so then we came up with this idea. And our idea was this. Rather than us sponsoring a kid, Elijah and Caroline, our son, our daughter-in-law, they're here sitting over next to Sharon. They have 2 kids, Judah and Maddie Lou. And we thought, rather than us sponsoring a child, we sat down with Elijah and Caroline last night. We said, what we're going to do is that we're going to sponsor another child, and we're going to pay for it. We're going to pay every month for it until we die, and then they can pick it up and they can pay for it, okay? But we're going to sponsor a child for Judah and Maddie Lou. We want them to know about this. So I had Darren to pick one out. She picked Steve. Here's a picture of Steve from the Philippines. He doesn't have a mom. She walked out. You can see the shape of his dad. Half of his arm is gone. Can I just be real honest? Steve's probably his only hope is that somebody sponsors him. Our daughter worked in the Philippines with International Justice Mission with human and sex trafficking. Do you know the percentage of that little boy being trafficked for sex and for slavery in the Philippines? In every country where compassion is, 80% of their kids, 80% will face some kind of abuse. The church that God has blessed need to step up and put our yes on the tables. His only hope. I know, I get it. His only hope is Jesus. Let's go a little deeper than that. His only hope is for somebody in a church somewhere that would sponsor that kid. There's some of you here today, God's blessed you so much. You could sponsor 5 kids and it never affect your bank account. It wouldn't even touch it. I'm asking you to put your yes on the table today. I'm asking you to say yes, to look beyond ourselves, to sponsor a child. Benita writes us. I've written her back. I haven't sent it yet because Cheryl will write her part on it, and then we'll send it. And then she'll send us. They love to hear from us. I'm asking you to say yes. And maybe you've already sponsored a child. But with the way God's blessed you, you know that you could sponsor another child even more than one child. And for today, I would even say, really the question is not if I'm going to sponsor. The question is how many I'm going to sponsor. So let me encourage you today to put your yes on the table and to say yes to this. And so I want you to watch this video with me, and then Derry will come up and close.
Growing up as a child, life was very hard, and many are the times that if we didn't have food, then we would go to scavenge in the dumping sites.
I didn't have food the day before, neither the other day before.
I only knew that I was hungry and I needed food.
As a child, I grew up with a lot of hopelessness, and I knew that death was the best thing for me.
At the age of 7, I lost 3 family members. I lost my mom, and I lost my stepdad. I lost my small brother Patrick because of the terrifying disease of HIV/AIDS.
In the middle of prostitution.
Feeling so helpless.
Poverty made me feel less valued. It made me feel not loved. It made me feel less of a human.
it's so hard when you have not eaten dinner and knowing you'll not have lunch and you're not assured for dinner the following day. It's just feeling very helpless, like things are not gonna be better.
I lost 4 of my siblings due to preventable diseases. 3 of them died before the age of 5. My sister, we were sleeping with her in the same bed, and she had died. Things changed later when I joined the program.
When I started attending the Compassion Project, I was learning about the Bible, but the most important thing for me was that I was receiving food.
I got an opportunity to go to school with a pair of school uniform, with a pair of shoes.
My mother heard about a church that worked with children. They're taking care about me, tutors, a pastor, a compassion director.
Words are very powerful. My life was changed because someone told me, I believe in you, I love you, and I know you will succeed in life.
My sponsor was a college student from Michigan, and in the first letter, she just told me that she wanted to make room for me.
My sponsor, he was 8 years old when I was 9, so he was 1 year younger than me. One decision to make room for one more changed my life.
Saved my life.
Save my life.
Will you make room for a child that needs you?
Will you make room for one more?
It's up to you.
My name is Raphael.
My name is David.
My life was changed by a 26 years old college student.
Her name is Joan.
Gail and Roger.
Her name is Jamie.
My sponsor made room for one more.
And that one more
And that one more was me.
was me. Sponsor a child through compassion today.
Release a child from poverty in Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.